So I appreciate for people for tuning in. All right, I think everything is going fairly well. I'm gonna get this other TV going with the other game. But Champ, how are you doing? I'll get some thoughts from you before we get actually started on the podcast.
Okay, I was about to say I was like you're not recording, so I wasn't too sure. But
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
trying to get over this cold and everything like that. That's why I'm not having my usual wine and a cigar because you can't really taste much and stuff. So I'm having hot tea and water and hot tea with plenty of cough drops in it.
Yes, I appreciate you for getting it out with us. Just gonna get some of this uh, cable box stuff all settled down before we actually start the audio podcast. Welcome on in. It's nice to see you back. Sorry, I'm making sure everything is muted and got this whole new three TV setup going and just trying to get it all organized. So right now got LA and Bengals is a 6-3 game. And good, I got the other game join live. Is the Buccaneers versus the Eagles. So we're rooting against the Eagles because maybe everyone in the division could go down. Hold on, let me get Lily here. Lily, go around. Go over here. Go, Lily. Go, go, come on. Let me see. Here, Lily, come. All right. Oh, it's 20-3. Shit, that sucks. All right. Have to work really hard to get the Buccaneers back into this one. All right. Well, I hate this weekend in football. Like the Ravens were winning and then they lost. The Commanders didn't look very good, and would not be good if the Eagles then win. At least maybe they'll get cocky and maybe they'll overlook us. Who knows? So they're our next opponents. So we'll be watching them live. Let me start the live recording of it on just my backup recording. Hold on. Record on this. Let's see, I'm setting some stuff up here. So
recording in progress.
Cool. And I'm going to set up our Facebook Live, and then we will start the actual podcast. And we've got Hurt coming in pretty quickly on after that. So we're hitting the connect to Facebook now. And copy. All right, so this episode is going to be called Commanders Fall to 2-1, DMV Sports Update, and Caps Preseason Talk. I can't believe we actually get to talk Capitals again, which will be fun. So, all right, sharing on Sports on the Hill podcast page, and we're gonna go live. I think is it. I think we're live now on Facebook as well, and we've got Hurt joining us. All right, I think yes, we are live on Facebook, so I will share that in a few minutes. Just get some final settings right. But yeah, welcome to episode 314 of Sports on the Hill podcast. This week we're talking about unfortunate Commanders loss. We had Hurt, our sort of reporter on the ground. We're going to bring him in just a second. We are joined by Champ, who's the co-host once again for this week. And we're excited about that. We're going to talk football for this first hour and then switch gears. We'll be bringing in these live Monday Night Football games with updates on that. We're currently rooting against the Eagles, but the Eagles are up 20-3 and have the ball with 7 minutes left in the third. And we're also monitoring this other game that's happening right now. It's weird. 2 weeks in a row, we have 2 Monday Night Football games that are happening simultaneously. So it'll be interesting to see how both of these games turn out. So we'll have scoring updates on those. Then in the second hour, we're going to do some DMV sports talk. We're going to bring in Tim. We're going to talk about how the Ravens did. We'll talk a little little bit about how DC United fared this week. Also, the Mystics, unfortunately, getting bounced from the playoffs. We'll break that down as well. A little update on the Nats and the O's in the standings in baseball. And yeah, it'll be an interesting evening. And then we will end it with some hockey talk as the Caps are back. They had their first preseason game. They lost in the shootout, but we have Gil and maybe even a C4 sighting. So we'll have the Hockey Roundtable back in the last half an hour of the 2-hour action-packed show. Again, we're episode 314. We are live here on Twitch, and we are live on Facebook as well. So thank you everyone for tuning in on that. So with that, I'm going to go to you, Champ. How are you doing tonight?
Just getting over a cold and just trying to survive. I felt like crap yesterday. That's why I didn't do my podcast last night, because I felt absolutely horrible. But I slept it off and I feel a little bit better, and hopefully I'll be a lot better by tomorrow. But I'm here.
Sounds good. And welcome in, Hurt. I know that you went to the game this weekend, and I want to get your quick thoughts on that. And but just generally, how are you doing? We'll start with that first.
He's trying to unmute. There we go.
Yeah, I'm trying to unmute myself.
Yeah.
Yo, fuck this team.
Yeah.
Let me tell you what. I've been dealing with my own list of issues this week. This Sunday is supposed to be a day where I could go and unwind. And I said to myself, I don't expect us to win this game. I expect us to compete and do the best we can and just make it competitive, because Buffalo's a better team. If we win, great. But what we got was trash. Are we going into that now, or are we just getting ready?
Well, yeah, we're just getting you ready, but we'll get into it in a second. But I just wanted to get your general feelings on life. But we'll definitely get into this game for sure. Well, I mean, we can rip the Band-Aid off and do it. I wanted to give a little background. I did take a special weekend with my wife. We took kind of like a little vacation to New York City. We all of our trips this year we took with our kids, so we didn't really have a trip just the two of us or some time. That, and I think that's important. And she's really wanted to see this show on Broadway really badly. Daniel Radcliffe is one of her favorite actors in the world, and she really loves Jonathan Groff, and she's followed his whole career on Broadway as well. And we got to see them perform together in an amazing show called Merrily We Roll Along, and I highly recommend it. It actually opens on Broadway in a couple of weeks. This was previews, but we were so excited to get to be in the room where it happens, as they say. And yeah, so it was a fun weekend, but because of that, and there was a delay in the train leaving, I couldn't watch a lot of the game because YouTube TV is stuck wherever your current location is. It geotags. Even with a VPN, it was still finding where my current location was, and it was giving me like Philly games early, New York games, and Baltimore, and I couldn't get it to show the right game for me.
Yeah, you're right, yeah.
So it was kind of a bummer because by the time I got close enough to DC, it was kind of a blowout. I was like, I kind of want to go back to the Baltimore game and watch that because it's a closer game. Luckily, at the end of, well, I guess unlucky, it actually went to overtime, and I did catch the end of the Ravens game because they did switch to it after the Commanders game. But we won't get into that this hour, but I will talk about that at the beginning of the next hour. But we'll talk about the Commanders game. I didn't get to watch a lot of it, so I'm going to defer to both of you guys for a lot of the information. But I did obviously follow the stats and what was going on. And it was just a bad day for our quarterback. And I heard, since you were at the game, I'll let you give your take first, and then I want to get Champ's thoughts as well.
Sam Howell played like trash. The weather conditions were trash. The attendance by Washington fans were trash. Did I say the weather was trash? The weather was trash. $15 for a half smoke is trash. The poncho that you sell for the team, is this a poncho or is it a trash bag? It's a poncho. You can't really see it because I got the green screen up. It's a poncho.
It's kind of like a magic trick where you're just like disappearing behind it, though. I kind of.
The ponchos look like trash bags. It was a bad day. Just a bad day. Now,
Yeah.
in the stadium, I don't know how it looked on TV, but in the stadium, it was painful to watch Sam Howell back up and look, and just be a deer in the headlights and either throw an interception or take a sack. There were times where I was happy that he took a sack because everywhere he was going, there was somebody ready to jump his route. They were jumping routes. They were cued into him. They were on his eyes. There's one thing Sam Howell does very effectively. He is very accurate with his deep ball. He threw the deep ball last week, success. He threw the deep ball 2 weeks ago, success or pass interference. He threw the deep ball this week one time. It went for like 40 yards. It was like the first play of the second half. And then he didn't do it again. I don't understand it. I can't understand it. I won't understand it. The play calling was trash.
Right. The screen calls were working, a week ago, and I was watching, and CP3 at least posted where are the screen calls, and and I don't know why we would have gone away from that if it was working the previous week.
Yeah, I don't either. Like, it's just there was no recovery from this, and I felt bad because everybody wants to blame the defense. Let me tell you what. That dude is Josh Allen is unsackable. He is a cheat code. So many times he got bumped, pushed, grabbed, pulled. He was in clutches and just got away. He's just so many third and longs he escaped on where he was dead to rights. Nothing you can do with that. He's just a hard guy to sack. Pause. Wow, that's crazy. But I don't know which one the defense to do. Like, they were on the field for so long. They were on the field for so much, and they weren't getting any help on the back end. People were running free. If you're only rushing 4 people, nobody should be running free. Nobody should be free. I don't understand that part, and I never will.
Yeah.
I don't know how Diggs is catching the ball, and there's nobody around him. What?
Yeah. It's disappointing.
Now, that's the emotional side of me. The logical part of me says Sam Howell's a rookie. This is game number 4 for him. He's 3-1.
Pressure comes. Burrow backs up, and
like
timing was thrown off as he tried to find Tyler Boyd. Burrow knocked down.
And not, let's say, what happened to Dallas. What happened to
3rd and 10.
And so far in the last 3 drives, what the Rams have done defensively is they have triggered a linebacker. I mean, once the linebacker sees the tailback is going to try to help or chip in protection, he becomes a rusher. Lou, that creates those 5 one-on-ones.
It's because I'm watching them just dominate right now, and I just don't know how we're going to. I'm just hoping that sets them up for a trap against us. Like they're on the road, win a big game, maybe they'll come home and lay an egg, but unlikely, so. But Champ, since you watched it from home, what were some of your takeaways from this game?
Kendrick was in coverage.
To Hurt's point, when Buffalo has
again.
time of possession of 34-39 to Washington 25-21,
he was lucky. He kind of zone turned that when he was in man-to-man.
James Cook,
Jamar for a minute, the ball
someone that's not being talked about here. James Cook wore down that front 7 with his running.
I think through
and it opened everything
the first half,
the
you do
game for
start
Josh
to see
Allen.
a little bit of Joe not taking those reps because he is just a fraction off when it comes to usually his elite ball placement.
Who knows how to hold on to somebody, and they couldn't take him down. So that's how you know that Josh Allen was just tough for this defense. This is one of the best defenses in the league. But the fact that Josh Allen was able to get away and not get sacked once.
3:43 to work with.
No sacks on Josh Allen.
Donald with the only sack for LA.
Our offensive line got
has looked okay in terms
Sam
of
Howell
mobility,
got
but
exposed.
the execution, the pass came clicking, not there yet.
Sacks on the day.
I just kind of mentioned just the lack of practice reps. He didn't do a ton this week, right? And so that seems a little bit off. If you're the Rams, this feels like one of those moments where we're going to get a motion, a concept, and one of these big ball, hard down the field play action shots they're notorious for.
but he was an NFL quarterback.
Safety
so
coming down. We got man-to-man coverage, middle
that's
of the
a guy
field.
that would know. And
Matthew
he called it out
communicating,
many
changing the
times
play.
on a lot of those sacks that he was holding on to the ball too long. When he wasn't holding on to the ball too long,
pressure
he threw it
immediately.
in the places
Stafford
where
on the
there's someone
move.
there that
Navigated
got to
around, but
he
threw it into
throws
traffic,
4
and it's
interceptions, not a
intercepted.
single touchdown. He had a quarterback rating of
Wilson,
41.5.
the elite middle
That's
linebacker.
horrible. That would be something I would throw. And I'm nowhere near an NFL quarterback, and I'm 41.
Makes the takeaway. Let's make
And I
sure
could probably
he
throw
caught
better
the
than
ball.
But as Hurt said as well, this is only his 4th game as a professional football player. He's had his first 3 where he was just boom. But now, a lot of these teams have enough film on him to know what to do with it. So now he's either going to have to adjust and do something different. And Eric Bieniemy, as offensive coordinator, is also going to have to
it looks like it moves
adjust
as it hits the ground
to that
as well.
because people have film on him now. They know what to expect from him. And Buffalo exposed
to the
with his
linebacker position than anyone.
so they're going to have to do things to adjust to that. Otherwise,
it may not stand, but it shows you
it's
how
not
good he
going
is
to
at
be
playing the
smooth. It's
position.
going to be a
What
bumpy,
complete
hard road to go
linebacker is.
forward.
Yeah,
and
that's a
I
tough
don't know
pass
how
drop, man.
successful
When
this
you have
team
your
is going
hips
to
open
be.
one way, you
Buffalo
flip them
exposed
back
our
the other way,
weaknesses.
but
Those
because
need
of
to
the
be
pressure
addressed
and Eric
this week.
throw.
They need to be addressed.
As it stands, Bengals ball to plus 40. We'll see if replay
defense can only do
reverses
so
the
much.
ruling.
When
We
you're
come
on the
back.
field for almost 40 minutes of a game, of a 60-minute game, there's only so much you can do.
And I'm Scott.
We just love
There's only so much you could do, and they did the best they could, but it just wasn't enough.
And
here we are with a 37
but we also
score.
use it on our
The
own
over-under on this
personal
was 44.5 points. They almost hit that over-under with Washington Knights scoring a touchdown.
Every year on TV.
Just saying.
And I'd always wonder.
So, yeah, it's very disappointing
It's very real.
that this is how in
Now that I've been here a
6-game winning streak that started last
roommates.
season
Okay,
against
let's
Dallas.
try and keep it
You
down.
had
It's
3
halftime.
wins
Of course
in
there's a gym.
preseason to get to 4. You're on a 6-game winning streak, and
Looking
it
good,
snapped
RG3.
in this manner. It's
You're
very
looking good,
disappointing.
Yeah.
So real quickly, scoring
Going on
update.
TikTok.
Eagles get a safety.
Just like
So now they lead 22-3 and get the ball back.
didn't go to college.
So
I never asked for a
lots of
raise.
hockey games going on,
didn't wear
preseason
fancy
hockey
shoes.
tonight as well.
I never took out a mortgage.
I don't know.
His friends didn't belong to
What
a
a
country
horrible
club.
game. I just
His
like
parents
you
didn't
kind of have
have
to
a
throw it
work
away, but you
So,
need these
he
sort of
worked hard
games to sort of wake up and
invested
see
wisely, not in stocks or bonds.
some things. I want to thank
But numbers.
both Tina French, who's live on Twitch chat. She said she had a really good time in the Gold Lounge on the club level. They said the hot dogs were yummy, so that was good. They had fun with their friends. And then Troy on Facebook was saying that Gibson needs to go, and so that hurt is going to sort of formulate a little bit of my next question. He's been having some ball security problems this year and overall, and it's a bummer because I think that he's a great player when he does secure the ball, but this is becoming like a real problem, and I don't know, what we're going to do about it. But, I mean, it's obviously not all his fault, but what are your thoughts on him, Hurt, and just in general?
The problem with Gibson is much like Alfred Morris, where the more carries he gets, the better he gets as the game goes on. You put him in as a second string back in spots. He's not worn.
And welcome back. The interception by Logan Wilson stands after replay review.
He's not a change of pace back.
It was a tight one.
He's the lead back.
A couple of looks, but the Bengals off that
I think he's
takeaway
out.
set up at the 41.
Would have had to talk to Cleveland before Ford came in and did what he was supposed to do. But I think Gibson's at the end of his rope here.
Mixon
I think if
off the right
Robinson's going
side,
to stay
so not
healthy,
clear
you
and
move on
obvious.
from Gibson.
The verdict is on this review.
So
Move
it
on
starts with this.
mid-season?
Hendrickson inside forces the quarterback to move, and then you're going to see the trigger by Nick Scott. Now watch.
How long though? Like you
Logan
think this week
Wilson.
you got
He's
him?
playing cover two, flips his hips, and then just an incredible feel.
I think he's got
Kind of pre-snap, they show man-to-man coverage, and then they spin at the snap to cover two and fool Matthew Stafford.
Yeah, that's a hard one to recognize post-snap when you disguise it that long.
But
had the left hand
I
under
wouldn't be
the football,
surprised
and
if
that's
you
what
saw
they
more
feel
Patterson
secured it
this week.
as it hit the ground.
I'm definitely trying
Bengals
to my fantasy team.
cash that in, and Burrow takes his first downfield shot. Higgins goes up, grabs it. A flag is down.
Or not Patterson.
Witherspoon was in
I can't remember the guy's
coverage.
name. I'm so mad.
See, did he push
But,
off?
Yeah, don't expect Gibson to be
coming
the
back.
second string running back this week. I don't expect him to.
physical battle down there between
That's
two
crazy.
strong guys.
Because I had such high hopes for him, I thought that he could do something. But and you can see it on some of these screenplays and some of the plays when they get him going in open space. As long as
you see, he's
trying
to look for the football, and whenever if an offensive receiver extends his arms like that and pushes the DB to the ground. One of the things most people complain about the fact that DBs don't try and look for the ball. You can't look for the ball when you're getting pushed away.
Here's my thing: as an offensive person, Ahkello Witherspoon is hugging T. Higgins.
I mean, they're kind of like hugging each. I mean, they're kind of like touching each other.
You're disputing the OPI call there?
I mean, he pushed him. That's the point we got to let him.
I think you guys are on opposite ends of this.
Come on now,
pretty clear.
Yeah.
38-yard
He
gain.
talked about it last week. Yeah.
Burrow again looping it down the sideline over the head of Higgins as we check in with Scott Van Pelt. Hey, Scott.
Okay, cool.
Chris, good news, bad news for the Buccaneers. The good news, they got a
pushed
pick.
around, they get bullied.
The bad news was it was at the 1 yard line. Rashad White was.
So why not do the screen more? If that's the case, and it worked the week before, I just don't understand why you don't do it. More.
By the way, correction, it's the Rams, not the Chargers, Robbie.
Oh, it is the Rams. You're right.
Yeah, Chargers played yesterday and lost Mike Williams for the season.
Oh, you're right.
Downfield receivers in the NFL.
Thanks for that.
I would not hesitate to go back to him again. He's going to win his fair share of those.
Third and 18. Burrow looking for a big chunk just way over the head of Chase. Covered by Witherspoon, so they squander the great opportunity.
QB rollout thing. I'm like,
Pick off by Logan Wilson sets
them
him up in plus territory. They go backwards. They pass interference.
We can't stand behind this guy, and he didn't do any screens. It almost felt like he was like, this game is a loss. Let's save all this for next week, but let's see how it looks. It almost looks like it was live practice. So I expect to see those things next week, especially the QB rollouts.
Wow.
But that's something you can do about it. But yeah, save it for next week because the whole league, every film room is looking at this game, and you're going to see a lot of that next week. You're going to see a lot of QB spying. You're going to see a lot of them trying to, jump the routes. I expect to see more screens and rollouts next week. And if not, it's going to be a problem. That offensive line is offensive. I don't know how you have first and goal and don't find a way to run it in. And I'm not saying that because I had a parlay with Brian Robinson getting a touchdown. I'm saying that because it's fourth and goal from the 2, and he's a power back. If you don't have the confidence in that line to get 2 yards, then there's a problem. And the problem happened this past offseason. I was excited about some of the guys we picked up. They're not panning out.
Yeah. It's a bummer. I just don't know. I'm trying to figure out how you can correct some of these things, and I feel like there become even more glaring weaknesses against a team like the Eagles. It's just they now have a lot of film to go through of what to, we have a blueprint of what will be our kryptonite, and so we got to correct a lot of this pretty quickly, or have a completely different game plan. But, either way, it's going to be a tough week for us to bounce back. But, Champ, what are some of your thoughts on the running back situation and overall?
What was the question again? I'm like in La La Land right now. I took some cold medicine and it's got me in La La Land.
No, I was saying, what are your thoughts on the running back situation, with the fumbling and overall, how do you think we can correct this going into next week?
I think what's funny? Just the other day, yesterday, as a matter of fact, YouTube primetime movies on YouTube has for free the program. Anybody who knows what the program is, it had Omar Epps was in it, James Caan. It was about a college football program and all the things surrounding it and stuff like that. Omar Epps' character fumbled during practice. The coach made him carry around a football for the entire week on campus, and any football player saw him tried to knock it out of his hand to make sure he dealt with his fumbling issues. I think that's what Antonio Gibson needs to do this week, is he needs to carry around a football, not just at the practice facility, but just all over the DMV. And anybody, if they see him, can try to come and knock the ball out of his arms.
I see him at Ben's Chili Bowl. I'm taking a swipe.
There you go. Right. You know what I'm saying? So that's what needs to happen. I got to say, I think Antonio Gibson makes it past the trade deadline and stays with the team, but he does need to work on his ball security. He definitely needs to work on his ball security. Brian Robinson is showing that he is fully healthy after making it back after being shot twice in the leg during a carjacking in D.C. and showing what kind of back that they drafted him for. And so Gibson needs to accept the fact that he is now the third down back. He's the guy that they're going to go to, especially in passing down situations. Being that he's a former wide receiver, they're going to rely on his hands and his ability to move and run routes. So he's going to have to accept that role that he's no longer the lead back. He's the third down back that they're going to run. They're going to lean on when they have to get like a play, a third down play or things like that. I don't think he gets traded by the trade deadline. I think they hold on to him. But as I said, he's going to have to embrace the fact that Brian Robinson is the guy now. And he's got to back up Brian Robinson and be the guy that they can rely on when they need a good screenplay or a good third down pass play where the wide receivers may not be available, may not be open, but he can get open and create plays and stuff like that. So I think that's what the situation with the running backs is that situation there. Antonio Gibson needs to accept his role and play his role to perfection in order to really help out this team.
Yeah. I think that all over, I mean, the offensive line needs to play better. Running backs need to play better. I mean, our defense, I think, is pretty good. I think you just can't give them that many turnovers and expect to win any games. I'm still looking at this Eagles team who's like knocking on the doorstep.
Not anymore.
Yeah, they just went backwards. But they're still 22-3, even with a field goal here. It's pretty big. I did not see it going this way. I mean, I'm pretty sure I had the Eagles winning this game, but I didn't expect it to be this lopsided. But Tampa Bay isn't obviously the 2-0 team that their record states. But Hurt, what are your thoughts on going into Philadelphia next week? What can we do to sort of fix some problems? I mean, how do you correct this on a 1 week turnaround?
More running plays. 10 carries for Brian Robinson is blasphemy. Can't do that. That's number one. Run the ball more. I know that's not the enemy's thing, but his thing didn't work last week. Got to run the ball more. More screen passes. More rollouts. Have to be more rollouts, more screen passes. And this team has always had a problem with mobile QBs, so Hurts is going to be a problem. Make him use his arm. Don't let him beat us with his legs. That's all I got for you. That's the only thing you can do in this situation.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's just going to be a tough assignment for sure. I think we're not good against mobile quarterbacks, and I think our run defense is pretty good, but that's usually when it's not a mobile quarterback, because then you have just so many options. It's just hard to contain. And it'll be interesting to see. It'll be a good test for the team for sure. So I have created the command now for your show over at Life versus Lymphedema. And if you're on Twitch, you can see the link on. So it's youtube.com/@life versus LYMPH. And you can also check him out at facebook.com/Hertzhouse, and all of his talk on other things on Facebook as well. And he an OG member of the True Radio Network. But Hurt, anything else that we should be knowing about, thinking about going into next week? Anything you want to let us know about what you're up to before we let you go?
I'm going to be putting my compadre, my daughter's godfather, my daughter's other godfather, in the ground this week. So I haven't really been doing a lot of social media. I'm behind on my Toxic Tuesdays. I got some really, really great toxic things lined up for next week. I don't really feel like being toxic tomorrow. I don't have any new content for Life versus Lymphedema. I'm still, Bobby was in that video, so it's still raw for me. But I'll probably, after his funeral, get back to business.
Yeah, for sure. That makes sense. Yeah, take all the time that you need. I'm still so sorry about all of that. And know that we are as your podcast family, a big, here for you, and whatever you need from us.
I appreciate it. It's just, it sucks because Bobby picked up so much of the slack after Jason died, after GOP passed, and now he's gone. So it's
yeah, I can't even imagine.
My cover photo on Facebook is the two of them, the two godfathers of my daughter holding her. It's just like, what are we doing?
I'm sorry, man. That sucks. But I appreciate you taking the time to join us, though. And I'm sorry that the game wasn't better for you to get to go to, but I did like the videos.
What does a $15 half smoke taste like? Can anybody tell us? Can anybody in the chat tell us what one of those $15 half smokes tastes like and why I should spend $15 for a fucking half smoke? Sorry, excuse me.
No, I'm with you. Although I way overspent on my New York trip this weekend, so I'm not want to talk like so. I am sorry because a half smoke.
It was either a half smoke or nachos and a Gatorade.
Yeah,
I went with nachos and a Gatorade. The nachos are only $5. The Gatorade $7.50. So I came out okay, but I was not going to pay $15 for a half smoke.
No,
$15 for a glizzy. $15 for a glizzy is crazy.
It's insane. I mean, just the glizzy. The glizzy was $8.50. All right, let's start there. Just the glizzy was $8.50, but it says original DC half smoke, $15. Like, I almost said it. I was just like, no, I won't be paying that. Give me those fucking dry ass nachos.
Yeah, it's becoming one of those places you just gotta sneak food into, just like they're ridiculous. Yeah.
Well, the bus. I will say this: free plug for Crystal City Sports Pub. They have a bus package. All right. Pause. Wow, that's crazy. For $35, you get shown to and from the game. That's easy. But for $60 before the game, you get their unlimited breakfast buffet and bottomless mimosas. Or Bloody Marys, or I think Bud Light. Like you get a bunch of drinks, whatever. But we were on the bus drinking mimosas. We're fucking just got to the game like it was great. It was a sober walk up Sean Taylor Boulevard or Sean Taylor Road, but good package.
Yeah, that sounds fun. I'll have to check that out for sure. But Hurt, thank you for joining us, and we'll continue with the Hurt Report next week, and hopefully we'll have some better news to talk about versus the Eagles.
I don't think we will.
I don't think we will either, but
I mean, look, if we lose competitively, I'll take it.
That's what we were hoping for last week, and we didn't get that. So, it is what it is. So, but I appreciate the time. I hope that you have a good night at work, and we'll talk soon.
Later on.
All right,
peace out, boss.
All right, Ken, what are your thoughts going into the Eagles? I mean, the Eagles are now up 25. They've added a field goal here. It's just the Eagles just look like the complete team, which terrifies me right now after what I watched. But, maybe that was the bottom that we needed to try to bounce back,
I will say, I'm noticing that Tampa Bay's trying to make a game of it. Mike Evans just had 2 big plays back to back. I should know because I have him on one of my fantasy teams, so I'm getting alerts about it. But I mean, Philly does look like they're a team that's just going to be really tough. The only hope is that they are going to be the Commanders are going to be competitive in that ball game against them. They're a division rival. It's early in the season we're getting our division rival coming off such a really embarrassing loss to a non-conference foe in Buffalo. That they're going to be absolutely. Commanders got to come out pissed off, and if they don't come out pissed off, then I don't know what in the world is their problem, honestly. But they're gonna have to come out with some fire in the bellies. They're gonna have to come out with some, really ready to grab the bull by the horns and twist their horns off or something like that. They got to be able to play with some urgency against this division foe this early in the season, because many people may not understand this or know this, but this game could loom large later on in the season when, division title and playoffs implications are into it, especially given the fact it's the division foe this early. This could loom large later on in the season. So they got to get this win. They got to make it count. Otherwise, it's going to be an issue.
Right. So it's the LA Rams versus the Cincinnati Bengals is now tied 6-6 at halftime. I wanted to give a little scoring update on that one. We're going to have Tim joining us shortly. We're going to get his thoughts on the Ravens game, which he didn't get to watch live, and I unfortunately did get to watch the end of. But we'll also talk a little bit about some of the other sports that happened this week in the NFL. We're also going to talk a little bit of soccer, DC United, some Mystics coming up as we break down their last game of the season. And we're also going to talk the Nats and the Orioles. We're going to talk about that over the next 45 minutes or so. And then at 10:30 or so, we will have the Capitals talk with Gil and C4. We may even bring them on a little bit early as well, seeing how time goes. But we're keeping here for a second, and just like that, Evans did get that touchdown that was aforementioned. They now it was a 1 yard touchdown reception with I guess they probably should go for 2 at this point because you kind of need to go for 2 every time. Let's see. Maybe they'll get a 2-point conversion for Evans because if you have him on fantasy, that'd be good.
I'm probably not going to win this matchup, but it would be great for Evans to get like one more big touchdown, and I can maybe have a chance. But I'm already predicted to lose, so I'm just trying to make this interesting.
Nice. A 2-point conversion. I love how the scoreboard was like, they got a safety. I was like, no, it was a 2-point conversion. I was like, how do you get a safety right after a touchdown? Scoreboard, go home, you're drunk.
By the way, Hurt caught up to me in his Pick'em League. We're now tied for first.
I know you guys are crushing it. I'm not doing so particularly well in that this year, but I'm only a couple of games back. I think it's not horrible. It's still doable. That was a great catch. They just showed the Evans one again, just an interesting week for the Commanders. I wish I had gotten to watch the part that I cared about, the earlier part, and then I just watched it after they had kind of been decimated. So it was just kind of brutal on the train.
Trust me, you didn't miss much, Robbie. Like I said, excuse me, I watched it from beginning to end, and oh my goodness, it was just not fun to watch. Like I literally almost cut the game off because again, I was feeling sick all day and I didn't get a chance to watch one of the wrestling shows that I normally watch before my podcast. And I was watching it, but I was also falling in and out of sleep. And so I wasn't really watching it. So I kept it in my DVR to watch later on when I was fully awake. And I almost cut off the game to go back and rewatch that because that's how horrible it was sitting there watching this team who the first 2 weeks of the regular season looked pretty good, not world beaters, but pretty good. And then they turn around and just get absolutely annihilated in their home. And then also what really killed me was seeing that the number of Buffalo Bills fans in the arena was a lot more than we've seen in the Arizona game where it was dominated by burgundy and gold. This time it was almost like 60-40 in terms of Commanders fans versus Buffalo fans, which is nothing you want to see. And yeah, the weather was awful because of the remnants of that tropical storm that came up the coast.
I know it poured on me the whole time I was in New York City, which kind of sucked. I was walking everywhere, but so I definitely felt that same remnants. Tina in chat was saying Bills Mafia was strong. There was so many Bills fans. They were really nice though, which I've heard from everybody. And Hurt in his post-game report that's on our page as well was talking about how nice they were, even though there were so many of them. And so that's a common theme, which I appreciate because there's a lot of road fans that come into our stadium that are kind of dicks. And like I'm looking at Pittsburgh fans, I'm looking at Eagles fans, looking at Cowboys fans, Giants fans. Actually, I would say less so. Comparatively, in their division, just because there's a lot of people that go back and forth and live in both in New York and DC. I think maybe but I just feel like Eagles fans and Cowboys fans and Pittsburgh fans are total dicks, and we just deal with them too much. And so anyway, it's 25-11 in this game. 9:22 left in the scoring reset here. The Eagles will have the ball. It's a touchback. Tina says, "Oh yeah, I've wanted to punch some other fans," and that's a Charizard flame emote. So it's rough for sure. We're gonna bring in Tim now. We're gonna continue to talk about some of the NFL this week, and I know you didn't get to catch your game live. I'm sorry for your loss as well. It's been a rough couple of weeks for friends and family, of people on this channel, but
definitely.
yeah, exactly. And but Tim, I think it's a bullshit call in overtime. I'm sure you got to go back and saw it. It should have been pass interference. The ball's in the air. There's a lot of contact on a fourth down play that gives the ball, turns the ball over to the Colts. The Colts then go down, and all credit, having 4 50+ yard field goals in a game is very impressive, but it shouldn't have come down to that. And I think it's a bullshit call. And I was pretty pissed about it. And I watched it live on the train. But Tim, what are your thoughts on kind of giving away the game, also at how it ended?
Yeah, it was tough. It was really two calls because at the end of the fourth quarter, when the Ravens had the ball in the lead and they were hoping to ice the game with a first down, on third down, there was an obvious face mask on the running back not called. So it was two plays that probably would have ended the game in a win. So very frustrating. But the Ravens have a ton of injuries, so the team is not it's not a full strength roster right now. So they played poorly, and I'm not going to say they definitely deserve to win because the offense was very up and down, especially in the middle of the game. It was bad. So they have to play better moving forward, but they could have easily been 3-0. So that's frustrating. But at the same time, you have to put away teams. The Colts aren't bad this year. They're getting better, so you really can't overlook anybody. But early you can lose games like this, late you can't. So the key is you just have to stack some wins after some early losses and not turn it into a bad habit.
A lot of rare Pokemon in chat today. We had a Raichu earlier. Now we've got a Whirlipede, which is actually a pretty cool Pokemon. And link in chat if you care, if you're live on Twitch. So yeah, it's just it's frustrating. I was really upset about that game. I was also upset. We'll talk about it a little bit later in the next hour about the Caps giving away their game, but that was a preseason game. But it's just kind of like a bummer of a weekend. Here we got the Eagles. A really important third down here. It's 3rd and 1. We're live rooting against the Eagles, so that way hopefully everyone in the division.
Yeah, anti-NFC East.
Week. Yeah, for sure. We'll see. I mean, it's a big play here. If Tampa Bay is able to stop them and force a punt, they've got a chance in this game, only down 14 points. But there's 6:30 left, and did they call it timeout? Looks like they did. Timeout for the Eagles. That's their first timeout. And Tampa Bay also has 2 timeouts remaining. Again, 6:29 left in this fourth quarter. We're watching it live. The other game is tied 6-6 at halftime. I know that Tim has become a huge Rams fan for the evening.
Against, definitely.
Cincinnati.
Go Rams. Bengals still can't score.
I know, 6-6.
It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, that's kind of a crazy score.
Their offense is out of sorts. Higgins has had a really bad game with drops, offensive pass interference. So their defense looks decent, but I don't know it's more than just the injury, I think, because they're not running the ball really either.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's frustrating. Let's go through the games that happened this week and how badly I was doing in them. But Champ, you're still leading the league with hurt, so good on you for having a pretty good week overall. I right now am tied for 3rd place, so I'm not doing too bad. I'm only 3 games behind you guys. Let's take a quick look at what happened this week. San Francisco crushed the Giants, which we kind of all expected. The Lions beat the Falcons, to be expected. The Patriots-Jets game was closer than I expected, at least. The Patriots came away with a 15-10 victory. The Browns crushed the Titans, which I thought they would win, but I thought it would be a lot closer to 27-3. A very close game between the Packers and the Saints. I'm happy I picked the Packers. I went back and forth on that one a lot. Packers, again, won 18-17. The Dolphins just crushed the Broncos 70-20, a game I thought would be a little bit closer. I know the Broncos were bad, but I didn't know. I guess it was nice that the Dolphins didn't kick that last field goal to tie it all-time record for points against, which unfortunately the Washington Redskins is the team that has that. The Bills, we talked about it, beating the Commanders pretty badly, 37-3. I was shocked that the Texans won 37-17. I thought that they could win. I did think about this game a little bit, but I did not. I thought it was going to be close. I did not expect that. We talked about this Ravens' unfortunate loss to the Colts. The Seahawks-Panthers game, I thought the Seahawks would win. I did not expect it to be them to put up 37 points. They won 37-27. Kansas City Chiefs won 41-10, powered by Taylor Swift. She's a force in all things, including football.
The fact that they had so much attention on her more than the football game says a lot. That's all I'm going to say about that.
That's partially the Bears' fault for being so terrible. They're never in the game.
That is true. But I loved how much publicity it got, which is also funny because she's an Eagles fan. So like she should be rooting for his brother, right? Like, but he's not. But it's just funny reading
Not a very loyal fan, I guess.
Right, it's just funny reading all the Eagles memes about her. That happened.
Funny she's an Eagles fan and dating Travis Kelce. Like
Right.
make that make sense.
So she's gonna become best friends with Mama Kelsey, is what I understand. So because that's the connection to both, right? So, but anyway, they won 41-10, and I'm so happy the Cardinals beat the Cowboys. I watched that game and I rooted for the Cardinals so bad, especially on my dad's birthday. It's like, give us something on his birthday. Don't we've already lost the Commanders game and the Ravens game, he upon a time was a Giants fan, and they got badly beat too. So it's just not a good week for my dad. So we always savor a Cowboys loss, and it's pretty funny to lose to the Cardinals, which, by the way, only 2% of people picked the Cardinals winning that. So the Steelers beat the Raiders 23-18. I got that right, but that was a pretty toss-up game. And then these are the two games that are right now that are happening. We got 3rd and 13 for the Eagles. This is a big stop coming up here for Tampa Bay if they want to have a chance in this game. But I'll get each of your thoughts on any of the games you want to talk about outside of our hometown games. I'll start off with you, Champ. Any game that was interesting to you?
The Miami game. I mean, listen, so all the Broncos fans out there, Broncos Nation, let's ride. Yeah, y'all rode all right. Y'all got rode out of Miami with your tail tucked between your legs with a 70 burger. I mean, good grief, man. You're an NFL football team. Yeah, you gave up a 70 burger, including 4 touchdowns to 2 running backs.
Yeah.
Like, come on. And one of those running backs is a backup running back who all of a sudden is now trending in fantasy football because he had a 4-touchdown performance, even though the lead tailback also had a 4-touchdown performance. I mean, holy crap. How do you allow this to happen? And then Tua, it was Tua time. He had 4 touchdown passes. Like, it was absolutely insane how good this team was against this Buffalo Bills team. It was unbelievable. And I don't know what else to say except, hey, Broncos Nation, continue to ride. Just ride somewhere else because Miami ain't the best place for you, period.
Yeah, I wonder if Miami can replicate this, because I think they're a pretty good team, or if it was just so bad. I wonder if it really hurts a team like Denver to go from a mile high to like, Miami, and because, the reverse has got to be true, right? And I think the Commanders did the right thing. We talked about how they showed up and only just a couple hours before game time. So that way they didn't let it hit them. And I just wonder, I never really thought about that before, but like, oof, like, I hope that's the reason, because if not, I don't know. It's just a bad game overall, for sure, in that one. Um, Unfortunately, the Eagles did get a first down, and the clock is still going. It's 4:08 left. Running play here. Let's see if they stop them and use one of their timeouts. It's third down, but the clock is still running. This becomes a really crucial play with 3:55 left. Tim, your thoughts on any of the other games from this week?
I thought the I guess now LA Chargers Minnesota Vikings game was really interesting because to me both those teams were 0-2. They had really high expectations. A lot of people picked both to make the playoffs, I would say, this year, and to go 0-3 is a disaster. And it's just hilarious to me because literally like a month ago, I have a friend who's a Vikings fan, and he was talking trash about how they were going to win the division again, and now he's literally saying, "Blow the team up, trade Cousins to the Jets. The season's over." And I'm like, man, like you changed your tune pretty quick. But both those franchises, I don't know, they're headed in the wrong direction. I also saw a funny storyline that the reason the Vikings lost at home again was because of the home crowd's noise on the last play of the game messed up their play call. Have you ever heard of a team blaming their home fans for noise ruining offense? Like, I don't think I've ever heard of that at any level of sports. And so I guess the Chargers are slightly less pitiful. They'll still underachieve like they do every year, but that game was just interesting and funny to me.
Yeah, my dad's saying "Fly Eagles Fly." They used to play at Franklin Field because we both went to University of Pennsylvania Quakers, and I'm like, you can't root for all three of the teams that are not Dallas in the division. That's
Bob Spilsbury move.
Yeah, it is. It's pretty. I get that you've lived in all three, so I guess you have some right to do so, but that's rough to root for three teams in a division out of four. But I can't get behind rooting for the Eagles. I have rooted for them on occasion, like in some Super Bowls and stuff like that, but not mid-season when like there's still a lot of the year left to be played. But he said, and depending on I'm doing, but I can't root for them over Tampa Bay. I don't care about Tampa Bay. Well, I guess I don't care about either team, but I don't know. I can't see me rooting for the Eagles in this game, but if that makes you happy, Dad, it's the day after your birthday. You root for whoever you want to. But I appreciate you and Tina for tuning in live on Twitch. And we will. I just realized that my screen has been frozen on the other game. Not that I really care about the Rams versus Cincinnati, but
still at 6-6. You didn't miss anything yet.
Yeah, that's funny because you get score updates, by the scorebot, and nothing has happened. So I just didn't I assumed that it was just the same score. But yeah, that's interesting. Anyway, it's been a fun night. I do think I want to get through a couple of the different other sports.